change is good. And if you look at almost anything, whether it be a product or a business, I mean, chances are it's changed pretty dramatically over the years. And television news just has not. It has looked almost exactly the same for 50 years.
Why am I going to watch the news when I can watch 100 amazing things? We function like we live in a world where people will just watch us because it's their duty to do so, or they always have, so they will keep doing that. And that's just not true.
More than ever, people don't trust us and what we do. I get it going home for Thanksgiving from my family. They talk about
you are fake news.
The media and fake news and all this stuff. It's getting to the point where you hear it constantly. The scary part about that is it's becoming normal.
I think that narrative of the media is bad has just been like served up in a package with a bow and delivered to the American public, and I think it's been really successful.
It has just put us so squarely in the spotlight, and all of our techniques and all of our practices are open for questioning. I don't know who they trust, but they don't seem to really trust the media anymore, and I think we've given them a lot of reasons to not trust us.
Involve your audience, pull back the curtain, take the secrecy away from day-to-day journalism. You have to do something different to catch their attention. It's just the way it is.
Put your hands up now.
We take viewers on the road with us so that they can ask their own questions.
Is that moving fast enough?
We can move quicker.
They can see everything that we see and they can reach their own conclusions. So I call it like open source reporting. Whatever we do and see, they're gonna do and see too.
So when that incident happened, like what thought went through your mind about training?
We have no idea when we go out the door what direction this story may take. We have it planned out. We know the experts we're gonna talk to. But you could do the exact same story with two different viewers, and that story is gonna be very different.
Are you filming? Oh my God.
When you take an audience member or someone from the community with you on the road, on a road trip, and let them really guide the process.
Are you feeling a little nervous?
No, I'm good.
That is extremely valuable. It's something that other news organizations aren't doing.
So I just finished eating lunch and I'm walking through the parking lot and this car pulls up.
So I let my window down and I shouted out, "Hey, Verify."
This lady starts telling me about a homeless encampment that's 2 blocks from her house where dozens of people live under a bridge. Just tell me
There's drugs, it's an eyesore, it's trash.
And she wants us to verify
Why the city of Dallas can't close the homeless encampment in my neighborhood.
My name is David Schechter. I'm a veteran reporter, and now I work for you. I'm taking real people out on the road to get their questions answered, and you're coming along for the ride. This is Verify Road Trip.
A year ago in Dallas, they shut down a tent city of about 240 people. Many of those people scattered, and some ended up 2 blocks from where Felicia Burns lives. Hi, Felicia.
How are you?
How are you?
I live in the South Boulevard, Park Row Historical District.
Felicia drives past here every day, but she's never been inside. So I'm taking her to see it for herself.
This is America. This is Dallas. Big D, and people have to resort to living like this. That's really, really sad. But to be right up in it, smelling it, feeling it, it was different.
This guy, Antonio Howard, comes up to us, and he's telling us he got out of prison 6 months ago, and he's been living under the bridge for 40 days.
Did you say you want to live in the tent until you get yourself together, or if someone could provide housing for you, would you rather an apartment or housing?
Right now, I'm where I want to be. You know, I don't like being homeless, but right now, it's convenient for me, you know, temporary.
And to hear him say he's okay with living in a tent, I can't wrap my head around that. And then I'm not gonna accept that that's the truth. I really don't think that's the truth.
I want to show Felicia that these camps are spread all over. So next we get into a van with Dave Hogan with the city's crisis intervention team.
If indeed we did close that encampment, the people would tend to scatter out into the neighborhoods.
So closing a camp might actually cause more problems, he says. Plus, the city burned through all its housing and shelter resources when it moved those people out of Tent City.
If I had 150 homeless people that were willing to go into some sort of permanent shelter or even to a full-time living situation, could you handle them? Do you have room for them?
Right now we don't.
Can't take 150 people.
No.
Cities try to help the homeless problem by handing out Section 8 vouchers. That's where the government pays the rent. Gary Moore is visiting his daughter who lives under a bridge, and he's telling us about this problem that many landlords won't take the vouchers.
What are some of the reasons that they've been given? That the apartments would not honor the voucher?
Past criminal convictions, probably past rental histories, and different stuff like that. I mean, you know, but no one is addressing those type issues.
Now I'm taking Felicia to see a guy named Larry James. He runs a nonprofit called City Square that provides housing for working poor families and the homeless. We're talking about 600 furnished apartments that people can permanently call home. The problem is, there just aren't enough of them.
Landlords in Dallas, they're not under any obligation or any legal requirement to accept the payment of a homeless person to lease an apartment. That's what we call payer source discrimination. It's a huge problem.
And this is not just about people under the bridges. The city of Dallas estimates it has more than 10,000 homeless residents. And in the meantime, about $8 million worth of vouchers go unused every year because no landlord will take them.
If I were to go to my city council person, what would be the single most important question I could ask her?
To tell them we got to have an ordinance that makes payer source discrimination. We can't do that.
Make that illegal.
Make that illegal.
While we're in Larry's office, I can see Felicia's opinion changing.
It's not about closing the encampment. It's about finding a solution. That's where I'm coming from now. I have a broader view now. I will join you with that. Like the kids say, I'm on ready, set, go.
Felicia wants to be part of the solution. So I'm taking her to see her council member, Tiffany Young, to find out what the city's doing about getting landlords to take those vouchers.
When Tent City under the freeway was closed, all of that did move further into District 7.
So this is the reporter question. Do you support an ordinance that would require landlords to take those vouchers?
Yes, I do. We have an issue in the city of Dallas called NIMBYism, not in my backyard, where people don't want to accept the vouchers, and it may not be because of drug use or mental health. It's simply that they have a Section 8 voucher.
Felicia and I learned a lot on this journey.
I'm not gonna lie, I still want the encampment out of my neighborhood, but I don't want it done the wrong way. I want it done the right way.
There are so many problems out here, like mental illness and drug abuse. But now Felicia sees it's the lack of housing options for homeless people that's at the heart of this problem. And that's why they can't just close the homeless camp in her neighborhood. But don't take my word for it. Take hers.
And I want to know, can silicone implants cause cancer?
So I would love the opportunity to get the insight.
Are they in general more dangerous than other dogs?
Can you help me verify this?
Sometimes our ideas come from viewers and sometimes they come from things that we think of. So now we need somebody to come on this trip with us.
I think 19 video submissions.
Really?
So far.
19 people sent in videos?
Hello, Verified team. My name is Sherman Powers.
Hey.
I'm Kitch.
Jimmy Stickles here.
Anytime Deep in the Heart of Texas plays, I clap along as one should.
Absolutely.
And,
Loves Texas.
Oh, slow smoke. Nothing is more Texas than that.
He has food standing.
Absolutely.
He's a chef. You know?
I think the public deserves to see how reporters function. And taking a person with you who is not a reporter is the best way to do that.
What should the state food of Texas be? Barbecue or chili?
Well, the state food of Texas is chili.
You're saying it should remain?
It should remain.
Why not involve the audience? And that's what I love so much about the Verified team that we have here at WFAA is we don't turn a blind eye to an audience who wants to know something. We actually say, come on in, join us for this ride. That's amazing.
We came to learn how cops make split-second decisions.
And you've been called to a neighbor dispute, AJ?
Hey, put the gun down now. So it was kind of a fight for me not to just go right to my weapon.
In the business world, you have auditors that come in and look at the books. And they're like, well, let me add this up and see if it actually adds up. So when you bring somebody with you, they're like an auditor. They're looking at your books and they're looking to see if everything adds up at the end.
It's 85% beef, 15% pork.
Okay.
100% love?
Yes, sir.
This is how we make the sausage, and anyone is welcome to see us do it.
And if you watch a program like Verify, you kind of get the idea, hey, I could do that myself.
The death penalty is always a controversial topic. Lots of us know exactly how we feel about it, but do we know why we think that way?
I've always found law enforcement, criminal justice, forensics, true crime, all of that very fascinating.
When we asked for people who strongly support the death penalty, Charmin Anselm volunteered. She's a mother, a grandmother, and she works at the phone company.
Because I don't think if you're a pedophile and you've murdered a child, I don't think you should have that right to live.
Charmin is rock solid in favor of the death penalty.
You didn't have to kill those people.
So I'm going to expose her to people who oppose it, and she's going to explore this question. Do we need the death penalty? Charmin and I are headed to Huntsville, where Texas executes its death row inmates, and where 43-year-old Terry Edwards is scheduled to die by lethal injection. Edwards was convicted of robbing a Subway sandwich shop in 2002, murdering 2 employees.
This is like about as solemn of a thing that you can go to, I would think.
Kind of like a funeral.
I asked the state if Charmin could witness Edwards' execution. They said no, because she's not a journalist. So I'll be witnessing it for her.
Governor Abbott complained God and said murder.
A small group of protesters gathered, including Pat Hartwell, who's a longtime opponent of the death penalty.
To watch someone die is an experience that you never want to have in your life.
When you say we shouldn't murder these people, but they've murdered. You know, we don't play God, but they play God. So I'm just saying, how do you use that argument for these people when this is what they've done?
Do we accomplish anything by killing Terry tonight? What is going to be accomplished?
Well, you tell me what you believe is being accomplished.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Pat says watching an execution is enough to change anyone's mind.
It floored me to watch a perfectly healthy person have the life sucked out of them. It affected me so much.
I'm gonna go in.
Go.
I'll see you after.
Thanks.
As I head in to witness the execution, day turns to night. We'll return here in a moment, but first we want to learn about the legal system that sends inmates to death row. Rick Halpern is a professor at Southern Methodist University and an internationally recognized opponent of the death penalty. He says when it comes to capital punishment, if you're poor, the legal system is broken.
It is the have-nots of our society. They're the easiest group of people not to like and to care even less about because most of them have done these terrible things.
This is what death row looks like. The largest group are African American at 44%. 65% report having less than a high school education, and almost all are poor. Halpern says these are the kinds of people least equipped to defend themselves.
A system that's flawed, and you won't ever have a perfect system, when are they punished enough?
I can't sit here and tell you I have the answer to that question. I just don't think we should be in the business of killing people, especially when the system is so flawed.
You're not alone.
Back in Huntsville, the witnesses, including me, are led into the death chamber, where no cameras are allowed. Sharman is talking to protesters like Yancy Balderas. Her husband is actually on death row. She wasn't happy with her husband's court-appointed attorney.
I went to go talk to a private attorney. He said just to start, he needed $60,000 up front. Where are we gonna get that money from?
The bell rings 14 times, once for every year Edwards was on death row.
That's it.
He starts making this heavy breathing sound and kind of starts snoring for like 45 seconds.
Because it was the medicines had been started or whatever.
And then that was it.
How did it affect you, witnessing an execution?
The big sentiment that I walked out of there with was the government has a lot of power to take a life. And that is a power that I hadn't really thought a lot about, the government having, like, they could take a life.
We're on the way to Houston, and we're meeting with Anthony Graves. He spent almost 19 years on death row for a crime he didn't commit. To him, being exonerated does not mean the system is working.
You stole 18 and a half years of my life. You tried to murder me for something I knew absolutely nothing about. You damaged me. And now you say it's okay?
Some of these crimes are pretty heinous. So where do we go with the punishment fitting the crime?
We have what the courts call life without parole. It's a death sentence.
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
You got two death sentences. You got one where they're gonna pump poison in your vein, and you got one where you're gonna die of natural causes. So if both of them are death sentences, why do we have to stoop so low to treat people like animals, kill them like pigs, and put poison in their veins, while we can take the high road as a society and let them die of natural causes?
Life without the possibility of parole, what Anthony favors, is now a sentencing option for juries in every state but Alaska. Experts say it's one reason why the number of death sentences in America has plummeted 84% in the last 20 years. For Anthony, life without parole means you never execute an innocent man.
When you execute him and he's innocent, you can't bring him back and say, I'm sorry.
We're back in Huntsville now, and Sharman, who started this trip believing in the death penalty, has now heard the case against it.
It's been very enlightening, and I can understand where both sides come from.
Is it possible that you want the death penalty more than we need the death penalty?
I believe that if...
Does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel like justice was done? That's wanting it.
Depending on the case, I sure do.
But needing it, does society need it?
I mean, need it.
Well, that's the question. Do we need the death penalty?
I mean, I think it's a good thing to have. I mean,
I want you to answer the question.
God, David!
I'm just making an important distinction, I think. Do we all need this? You want it. Does everybody in this world need it?
I believe it's needed. I believe it's needed in our society, in our justice system.
Why?
Used the correct way, done the right way, you need to be held to a higher punishment
for the higher crimes.
For Sharman, it still comes down to this. The most horrific crimes deserve the ultimate punishment. But don't take my word for it. Take hers.
Okay, I think it's on.
It's live.
It's on.
Yay.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to pull it up over here.
I know I grew up in a television world where like we were up here, we went out and got the information, and the audience was here, and we're like, here's the information, and take it or leave it.
Yep, but if you have questions, see if we can get some of those things answered along the ways.
That environment doesn't even exist anymore, although we act like it does. Like the social media and the ability to tell us what people think, we're much more on a one-to-one relationship.
Sharon Gaines says the only reason they're reported is because of their stereotypes.
Danielle says, how bad is it to work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.? She is spot on. They like you out there.
Now we'll take the audience with us by putting Facebook Live right there on a tripod and say, help us conduct this interview. Like, what questions do you have of this expert? What do you want to know?
I'm David. I'm Chance. We are in the Trinity River Basin. We're doing a story today on, is the Trinity a toilet bowl or a wonderland?
We kind of think it's dreadfully boring sometimes about how all of this gets made.
We just took some samples from the river.
But to people who don't see it and don't know how all of this happens, I think it's pretty interesting to watch.
We are going to shoot a scene here. You can watch us do it. And then we'll take some of your questions when it's over.
Sometimes it's great to take one person with us and have them be a stand-in for the whole audience. Sometimes you can take the whole audience with you because we have the technology to do that, and that's what we did on this story.
I think that very few contemporary Dallasites have ever experienced a roaring breakfast campfire along the Trinity River. There's so much down here that is untouched. There's so much down here that is wild. There's so much down here that is magnificent.
Magnificent and wild. That's how some people see the Trinity. How do you see it?
It's kind of gross. It stinks.
Nasty river, to be honest with you.
For 20 years, Dallas has been promised a downtown megapark built inside the levee walls of the Trinity. But lately, some publications have been writing about a new idea. Not a 150-acre park, but a 6,000-acre wilderness that's actually inside the city limits. That's a grand vision, but what's the reality? To see what works and what's broken, I'm going to spend the day inside the Great Trinity Forest.
Hey, where are we right now?
We're at the Trinity River Audubon Center.
It is really a beautiful, beautiful place.
My guide is naturalist Ben Sandifer. He's taking me from the Trinity River Audubon Center to the park that's right next door called McComas Bluff.
Well, there's some great stuff in here.
Yeah.
But to do it, there's no trail. Now we're in a place where few ever venture.
This feels very, very different right away. This feels like a forest.
It is.
That's right, people. There's a forest in Dallas. It's home to 226 kinds of birds. There are rare plants and animals. The trouble is, it is so hard to get around in here.
Ow!
Chance, how are you feeling about all this?
I'm feeling like I've had 1,000 thorns in my legs.
Heck, would you like me to call an Uber right now?
Yeah, can we call an Uber?
Probably one of the most interesting places on the Trinity that I don't think too many Dallasites know about. And that location is McComas Bluff.
Oh my.
Made it.
Wow. Are you kidding me?
This is Dallas.
No, it's not Dallas.
This is the Trinity.
I think one of the big things I want to know is how polluted is the river? Everyone thinks the river is polluted. Is it possible that we're in the city of Dallas right now?
Yeah, it's very possible. Can't you smell it?
That's Richard Grayson. He leads a team of volunteers who take water samples. When it rains, he says, nearly every drop runs down here. plus all the things that the rain brings with it.
Richard, I am astounded to see how much trash there is in here.
Yeah.
Why is there so much trash in here?
For the most part, it flushes off parking lots and city streets all the way down to the river.
And trash isn't even the biggest problem. For decades, factories polluted the river with toxic waste. And today, people are still dumping things. Right now, we're testing for E. coli, which comes from animal poop and fertilizer. The water we sampled is 20 times above the EPA's safe swimming standards. We interviewed him using Facebook Live so that you could ask some of your own questions.
This is from Christopher. With the amount of rain that we get and the runoff, is there any way to keep it clean or prevent pollution?
It's very difficult in an urban area like this.
Can you swim in it?
You shouldn't.
Shouldn't. Can you eat fish from it?
You shouldn't.
Advocates see an opportunity for a great city park in here because local government owns all the land, 6,000 acres. And the city of Dallas has a plan for the Great Trinity Forest. I looked it up. The plan says it should be updated every year, but that hasn't happened in almost a decade.
Has the city neglected the Trinity Forest?
Yes. And you can't blame who's currently in office or currently at City Hall for that, because it's been something that's been in the works for generations.
Is there just no plan?
It is a seat of your pants plan.
You look more like the sheriff than the mayor right now.
There's a new sheriff in town, sir.
So let's ride horses in the forest while we get some answers from Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings.
We've got to just make sure we preserve all this. That's my big thing.
Has the city neglected the Great Trinity Forest?
Well, I think over the decades we have, okay? I think in recent years the progress has been remarkable.
He's talking about big ticket projects like the Audubon Center, the Texas Horse Park, where we are now, and a championship golf course. There also are the beginnings of a trail system to hook it all up. He says finishing those trails and making things more accessible in the forest is a big priority.
This is a work in progress. This is a piece of art that every year I think we're going to get better and better at.
So what did we verify? Well, the trail system is incomplete to get between the cool things that we saw. The Trinity River is polluted, and the city of Dallas doesn't have a working plan on how to make the Trinity Forest truly great. That's all for now. If you've got something you want verified, just let us know.